exactly 10,000, but they rounded from like 200 or something.
That was a theory that they could have been a rounder.
Yeah.
And you know what? Fair play.
Yep. And it was a pretty close round.
Yeah, it wasn't like they were rounding from like 6,000 kilometers or something. It wasn't an egregious round.
Yeah, but it was a round, but it's still absolutely fine, and we're glad that we got to the bottom of it. And now we can focus on this game number 2 without any distractions, I promise. All right, the Varus, the Vi, both taken away here. Viva Vendetta would have been very happy. And it is the Orianna to be taken away on the other side.
Yeah, DNS now getting access to first pick in this game. Rise ban coming out, which I think makes a lot of sense with the Cassiopeia gone.
Yep.
Priority on that pick definitely moves up. Jarvan ban.
Varvan. It's more Vs. There's not enough Vs.
So pretty similar bans for DNS. Last time they banned Ori, this time they banned Varus. We did have... The Lee Sin was banned against Pyosik last time. They haven't banned it, but they've banned 2 picks that do really well with it. The Rise and the Annie both have that point-and-click CC. So they're letting Pyosik get the Lee Sin, but they're limiting some of the options for Clozer to pair up really effectively with it. And they are going to look for the Ezreal themselves, which was banned last game.
And Ezreal is one of LazyFeel's all-time favorites as well. Ezreal Karma is still very, very strong.
Yeah, this is a really tough lane. And for DN Supers, you have to think, what can we match into this that's going to survive? Are we going to go for a lane where we're going to try and trade with them heavily, match power there, or with the Nautilus being hovered, go for more of a kill lane?
Yeah, this is very all-in, which scares me a lot. Because it's the DN Supers, they haven't been very good at stability. It's not DN stability. It's supers.
That's not what it... Oh, okay. I got confused a bit.
Yeah. You thought that maybe that's what it was, and that was going to help you feel a little bit better about the situation. It's Nautilus Sivir that's going to come on in.
Yeah, so the Sivir has the spell shield, which can help mitigate a bit of poke. We often see the Sivir trying to survive against tougher lanes, but normally the pairing with the Sivir is something that can also help that out. Here with the Nautilus, you have more threat onto the Karma, but the Nautilus is going to get harassed pretty heavily in this lane. This is still going to be a tough time for the DN Supers. I expect to see Pyosik making his way down towards the bot lane pretty quickly. We then get the Gnar coming in for Rich, which is one of his classic picks that we often see. Gives him a window to ban away any matchups he wouldn't like in this situation. And for the DN Supers, I expect they'll continue to hammer away at these jungle picks. There's already 4 taken away, 5 including the Lee Sin actually, so...
Yep.
An opportunity to trim that even more.
The Silas, a pretty DuDu-specific ban. He's been playing that one into Gnar every chance that he gets.
Yep.
As the Mel is going to be taken away as well.
They might be going for a TF, actually, if they're banning the Mel. Will Kiwoom DRX sniff it out? Because the point-and-click CC helps the Lee Sin, but also the roaming potential on the bot lane. We've already talked about you need a lot of focus in this bot lane to make it favorable for DNS, so... I feel like a TF could be a potential thing. They go for the Jace ban instead.
All right. So that TF is still up and available. They can pick the TF if they would like to.
Yeah, they have that ability.
Could be an option, but we'll see. That would mean last pick for Willa, which is kind of interesting. But one more ban to come through from the DN Supers. Will it just be another mid lane one? Instead, it's going to be the Nocturne.
Trimming away some of those tools. There's still a lot of junglers available. There's still the Wukong, which got buffed. There's the Pantheon as well.
Yep.
So
Wukong Gnar is also a pretty tried and true combo here in the LCK, so wouldn't mind seeing something like that. Do they just lock the TF? I kind of think it feels like a decent idea. But blind TF is often a little dangerous. And it will be Pantheon instead, locked away here for Willa.
Yeah, so I think just the most straightforward option, obviously give some early gank pressure and the ultimate to help cover your side lanes in particular. I was talking a little bit about the potential for the TF. Looks like it might be an Ahri instead for Clozer. If you connect those charms, you're going to be able to set up the Lee Sin, make moves down towards that skirmish. Going to give you a lot of power if you get initial kills.
Yep. I feel like a lot of mid-game strength as well from the Ahri. So it sort of fits with what the DN Supers want to do. Use their mid-game power in order to bridge towards Sivir carrying later on. Could be the option here. As one last pick, DuDu, wanting to see what he wants to play into this Gnar.
I think as well, we often see Ahri picked into Talia back when they were both very meta. And there could be a world where Kiwoom DRX wanted to go for the Talia Pantheon. We've seen Talia priority a little bit up since she got buffed, so Pre-picking the Ahri makes a good amount of sense. Ambessa coming through into the Gnar. We've seen Ambessa struggle generally, but did get recent buffs, more healing on her ultimate, and some more damage early on the Q. So DuDu looking to take that matchup and hopefully come out ahead of Rich, if not in the early levels and later on. And it is just going to be Viktor for Ucal. So nothing too crazy here.
Nope. It's pretty smooth for Kiwoom DRX. And they've set themselves up with a pretty comfortable sort of front-to-back style draft. Not exactly the tankiest necessarily, but Pantheon and Gnar, both of them sort of pseudo-tanks as they can be. So much the DN Supers, a little bit more of a scary draft, I could imagine, if you're a fan of them and if you're going into them.
So much of this game comes down to Pyosik, because if he's able to influence his lanes, get plays happening, make use of that newfound power for the Lee Sin, you can see an angle where they take over this game. But if the lanes are just able to play out naturally, or even worse, if Willer can be the one to set up ganks, I think it's going to be a situation where they're going to just feel very comfortable playing out these natural lanes. You know, the bot lane, the Ezreal Karma, not a fun time going up against that.
Wait. Should she break her leg? Wait. She's certainly got a sore leg, and something it's like it's better to break. She'd break her leg if she... Is that Pawn? My good... Is it? No. It can't be. If it is, he's lost so much weight. It is. Okay, wow. All right, well, welcome, Pawn.
He was a great call.
He's my favorite mid laner. I should have recognized him, but I almost didn't. He was almost unrecognizable. Oh, well. Welcome to Lolpark. I hope he has a good time, and I hope we get the most out of our match here as the DN Supers look to try and fight back. Whoa! All right, okay. Lolpark is erupting to see whether the DN Supers can fight back in this series. And we'll see whether they can. Man, I got so starstruck seeing Pawn there, as he was on KT, actually, just before Ucal came in to win the 2018 LCK final in summer. It was that was his final year in the LCK, so that was quite some time ago, like 8 years since Pawn has been playing, and I miss him every day. Was definitely one of the more innovative mid laners, both in the LCK, in Champions, and in the LPL. So really cool. Okay, Peter going to find the first hook, though, and that feels fantastic. You kind of need to just keep hitting them over and over again.
Yeah, they actually got this early ward in the first bot lane brush. DNS did, and I don't think Kiwoom DRX saw it get placed down, so Andil just walks in, gets hooked immediately, takes a lot of damage. Still not going to be that bad. You still have a lot of trading power, and losing a bit of health isn't too much of a problem. It's also heal from Peter. And if you're trying to find kills in this lane, I feel like Ignite's really important, because not only do you have the summoner heal, but also Karma Mantra W is so strong. Karma's typically going to be the target you go for because Ezreal has the Arcane Shift, but if she just Mantra W, she can survive for such a long time in a lot of situations. Now, we do see Pyosik looking for his first gank.
Ooh, Flash Charm will be answered by Ucal. Does have to flash away. So flash for flash in the mid lane when you do have a very active early jungler like Pyosik's Lee Sin. That could be something that they could return to.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be ready to look for that once again. And the fact that Pyosik still has his flash means that he can definitely make use of that for a return gank.
We're going to set something up here as, Mantra Q missing.
But it baited out the spell shield. So, you know, maybe you got the value you wanted.
There you go. You don't get the value from proccing the shield.
Intentional miss.
Oh, absolutely gorgeous stuff there from Andil. Somehow he managed to make the perfect play by missing.
Yeah, I will say, Peter and deokdam doing okay so far, all things considered. It's early days, but pretty healthy, not falling too far behind in CS. I do think sometimes after the first recall, like you'd think a lot of lanes, it's like, okay, you recall, you get to heal up, that's good.
Ooh, another anchor going to connect there as, sometimes just don't take damage.
Yeah, after the recall comes in and more damage is given over, like if LazyFeel gets a Sheen, that's when it can almost feel weird. Because you also have a lot more points in your poke abilities at that point. We did see Andil there using the Mantra W, didn't get to proc it twice, but that's kind of how you play this matchup. As soon as the Nautilus goes in on you, use Mantra W him, shield yourself, and it's really difficult to have the damage to actually kill a Karma in that situation, which is why she can feel very frustrating compared to some other enchanters.
Yeah, it's certainly not looking like a whole lot of fun. However, deokdam is, within touching distance when it comes to farm. As LazyFeel making his way back to lane.
They actually stuck around. So it looked like they wanted to recall, but they stuck around so they can take this window to push the wave and get a reset. And despite the fact that LazyFeel is ahead in gold, because deokdam's recalling later, he'll actually have a bit of an item advantage in terms of gold spent.
Yeah,
so,
Caulfield's actually fully completed here.
Playing it pretty smart here. Didn't pick up any potions, though, which could be a little bit concerning.
All right, Peter still has heal. We're fine. There's all the sustain you need. As he's also got his little bow there as well, thanks to Doran. Thanks, Doran. As DuDu taking a lot of damage here. The wallop just barely going to miss. And so DuDu will be all right, at least for the moment. But Rich, I mean, this was always going to be a decent lane for the Gnar, but it is proving to be so.
Yeah, I do think level 6 is where DuDu gets a lot of power and can just pull and engage onto a mini Gnar when he wants, and also gets that extra power, just the passive power that the Ambessa ult has.
You love bringing that up, don't you?
Oh, it's just so... It's such a crazy thing to me. It's Pantheon as well, as these champions are like, oh, I skilled my ultimate, have a bunch of armor pen, and they even buffed Ambessa's healing on that.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like, oh, I skilled my ultimate, you could even miss it or not use it, but I am just significantly stronger. I have all these free stats.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
Well, it must be. As DuDu does have level 6 now, so he does have all of those extra stats. And can now just hit things in the lane and push this turret up. Doesn't look to be Rich returning too late, but there is no cannon here, so he's going to miss a few CS.
So far, haven't seen too much action. I will say, DNS bot lane holding up pretty well. DuDu doing pretty fine. But we did want to see Pyosik having some activity.
Well, this might be his opportunity, as right now Kiwoom DRX are owning the river.
Yeah, once
There's
again,
a onto Peter.
Trying to play around that scuttle respawn. We saw last game, and Yankus was saying the emphasis they put on it to get that level 6, and once again a considered effort to secure this. 19S, but DNS want to make something off this.
Yeah, Peter is actually walking in, but I don't know whether he really wants to, as there's a huge shield from LazyFeel. Flash over the wall, though, gets Peter to relative safety, as Pyosik looking for an angle, but he's only level 5. Man, the kick would have been so good, as he goes in and safeguards out, almost survives, as now Peter is going to go down as well. Why take the fight?
Yeah, they'd already lost the scuttle. Level 6 had been hit by Willa. Gets access to those extra stats even if he doesn't use the ultimate. And,
beautifully bridged. Thank you, Aux.
Yeah. Trying to force a play. And the thing with...
Oh dear. Public execution now onto Rich. He is stacking that hyper up, but I think that DuDu's got this. He just flashes in celebration to make sure he takes down the Gnar.
Yeah, we saw Rich flashing in a straight line. Gets caught out by DuDu. So that's some good news for DNS on this one. But yeah, when you have this composition with a Lee Sin, an Ahri, and a Nautilus, you really want to just explode the first target. And here, you don't have to follow up initially for LazyFeel. They end up turning it onto the Pantheon, but the problem is it's a Pantheon. And Pantheon is so good at soaking pressure. The charm comes down when his Aegis is still up. They can't finish him off. They don't get the resets onto Clozer. And this whole time, the rest of Kiwoom DRX is just pumping out damage.
Yeah. Well, Wallop is decent, so that's why Rich decided to go for it, but then immediately mini Gnar. Army of minions as well. I mean, it feels like it should have been pretty all right, but the flash... Oh, dear.
Yeah, flash in a straight line. And DuDu being on lower HP allowed him to make it close. But you have to be so wary when your Mega Gnar times out, when you're in mini, exhausted, and the Ambessa can jump on you. Such a threat that has to be respected. It's also, this is going to push DuDu closer to that one-item spike of the Eclipse, which is when Ambessa really comes online. So, a scary lane now in the top side.
Yeah, and what is it with these teams, right? The DN Supers, yes, it's now Soup, it's not a Freaker anymore. However, so many times it's just top lane. That's the power point. And it was Keen for the longest time, and now DuDu is accepting the role obviously somewhat reluctantly, because it would be a little bit better if things were winning.
I think part of it is top lane's quite isolated, so you can be having a good game top lane as the rest of the map's falling apart.
But DuDu is a great player and has been still performing relatively well. We mentioned before that he had the Silas pocket pick. Yeah, they haven't been winning very much, but it has looked okay as an answer to the Gnar. We saw it take that ban slot as well. Maybe they can play around him in this game, but it's just a bit sad.
With how strong he is, and Pyosik having just taken the grubs and leading up there, Rich gets denied away from the tower. He's now an entire level behind. He's about to hit level up to 8, but he will still be a whole level down 800 gold. This top lane is going to become a sore point for Kiwoom DRX. You see they moved Andil up there just to offer some security so he doesn't get dove. It's a delicate spot, and you can't always just freeze someone up on the map to be able to assist Rich just so he can farm.
Yeah, and won't be able to do so as now Clozer trying to get a bit of a shove into this mid lane. Does have some free time here as Ucal is making his way back to lane. So DNS with the ability to move. Peter using that in order to get some deeper vision, as there's that Eclipse spike that you were talking about. And now how can this advantage on the Ambessa be used in order to win the game? That's my big question.
I think if you keep finding pressure in the side lane, building up more of a gold lead, I wouldn't necessarily feel like you need to join fights yet, but he did just burn that TP top as well. That was not the hop I would have gone for.
No, however, this time, he avoided the public execution.
Yeah, that was crazy. That could have backfired so massively. And he was really playing with
It's
fire.
hard to predict when he's doing the unpredictable, okay?
Yes. One wouldn't expect him to jump over your head. But I think once DuDu gets a bit tankier, because the Eclipse feels really good in lane, but you are still a little bit squishy. Once you get, two items, it can feel really good joining fights here. Now they are moving Clozer up to try and find a play here, but he doesn't see an opportunity and just moves back down to mid.
Yep. Rich did have a ward, so had a bit of information as to what was going on. Mega Gnar is going to be there pretty soon. Ucal playing pretty respectfully, but does have his flashback off cooldown once again. And DNS, I mean, they're down 1,000 gold, but I think they do have some win conditions here in this game if they can make the mid-game work.
It's not the end of the world yet, but obviously wasn't the start they were hoping for, and Pyosik just hasn't been able to make his impact known. Remember, he did gank mid earlier, but Ucal didn't get any follow-up from it. He's still doing fine. His flash is back up and available.
All right. Well, the Essence Reaver is now done for deokdam, so that might be a spike to play around. Is now Peter looking for an anchor angle. Andil is just going to try and snare him, but Willa is going to be the one to make the first move. Down to 50% already onto Peter as the hook is going to land. Depth charge down as well. They want to be able to kill Ucal as the kick does come on through. Clozer looks for the angle but doesn't get onto Ucal, and Willa is just able to execute the Lee Sin once again. Peter almost sniped as well from Andil, who's having one heck of a series so far, and Kiwoom DRX just moved further ahead. Oh wait, is it going to happen again where they lose a fight and then it's just a solo kill for DuDu? It might actually be happening here as we've got another fight breaking out as Willa down so low. That boomerang could have been the end of him. As deokdam looking to rotate back down, but they have full information. Wards all over the place here for Kiwoom DRX.
Looking again. When he times out.
And the mini is going to come back here. Let's see whether DuDu can find the angle. Doesn't actually commit the R button.
Yeah, I think unfortunately in that fight for DNS, Kiwoom DRX were just quite tanky and the damage got super split. Clozer just picked up the Malignance. I think they should have fought around that. But they go for the play here, and so much of the damage ends up being split. Ucal has a rocket belt, and even though he still gets caught, he's quite bulky. And then they end up going for this kick. There's a good amount of AoE. People are getting low, but no one dies. You're not getting those resets. It's still 4 members strong for Kiwoom DRX. And if you think about the items they have, the rocket belt for Ucal makes him quite bulky. The Sundered Sky for the Pantheon, a lot of survivability. And Andil had the Echoes of Helia, and that item is such a strong one-item spike. You land the poke, you get the healing immediately. When people don't have that much damage, it makes a big difference. And I think you needed the Malignance from Clozer. You needed that extra oomph to get those kills there.
Yeah. Or you needed to try and pick off an isolated target instead of just opting in to what Willa was already trying to do. Kiwoom DRX obviously thought that they had a good angle as well, and they were the ones that were correct in this instance.
Yeah, this composition for the DN Supers, they need to kill targets and move through them one by one. They have a lot of single target damage and a lot of the reset potential from the Ahri. As much as Sivir can do a lot of AoE damage that sort of sets up targets. You need to be getting these kills and this momentum in fights, because if you see a scenario like that where everyone is just low, it feels really bad.
Certainly is. There's now Willa just clearing out a red buff. And having a look now, I mean, the DN Supers have been able to get some vision on the map. And so this dragon should be something that they might be able to get into position for, already starting it up. Pyosik comes on over. Willa now trying to get into position to clear out a lot of this vision. We'll be able to do so, but now Kiwoom DRX moving in, making the map as dark as possible, and it looks like they're giving up this dragon. Just not willing to contest it. We'll just get this wave shoved into the mid lane turret. And another Chemtech Soul. Aux, do you have anything to offer here? Oh, all right, Charm is going to connect here as now Andil going to get taken down. That's going to be a kill going over to Peter. It's a kickback onto Ucal as well. Clozer now trying to make it work, but Willa will be able to take down Pyosik once again. And DuDu this time will teleport in. It's a triple for Willa as deokdam is finally able to take him down. The 5-0 Pantheon, that's a lot of money over to this Sivir.
It really is. That honestly looked like a better fight start for DNS, managing to kill a target initially, but the Pantheon just ended up doing so much damage in these skirmishes. They explode the Karma pretty early. They try and turn onto the Viktor next, but Willa's just free hitting. And free hitting is normally something we say around AD carries, but the damage he is doing nearly gets deokdam as well.
A little bit more ability haste, and deokdam is also dead.
Yeah, and he will be
ridiculous.
able to afford a little bit more ability haste. Now he has gotten all that gold, although isn't buying it as of yet, but I imagine will later on.
Yep, Black Cleaver is very close to being done. All right, Ucal clearing out the wave. LazyFeel doing the same thing here in this mid lane. And that gold lead has shrunk just a little. So, you know, it could be worse here for the DN Supers. You said,
He
you all right?
finished a support item, and he went to Dreammaker.
Huh. He's dreaming about a win.
So he's now sold it. You can't sell it and buy it back and then choose again.
Ah.
But that does cost money. Now he has Celestial Opposition. So a bit of an oopsie from Peter there.
But he wanted to make his dreams a reality.
I was not ready for the Dreammaker Nautilus tech, relying on the locket.
Yeah, and apparently Peter thought that no one was ready, and he had to put it away.
Yes, the world isn't ready. So we'll switch over. You don't lose that much gold from switching over. Actually, I think you can just sell it and refund it.
Yeah, I think you just don't. It doesn't cost you too much.
Yeah. Maybe it doesn't cost you anything. I can't remember. I normally actually click the right option.
Oh, weird.
So I haven't had to deal with this problem. But regardless, he has switched it over to Celestial Opposition, which is very valuable on a Nautilus. So
I was looking forward to the tech. Maybe Peter was going to be a trendsetter. Just decided not to be in the end. As the DN Supers, I mean, at least deokdam is now ahead in gold by a tiny little bit. Based on that massive shutdown he was able to pick up. He's still incredibly far behind when it comes to farm. But now, able to at least get towards item number 2 at a relatively decent pace. All right, DN Supers, it's time to lock in. You need to bring us to at least a third game.
yeah.
All right?
I mean, game wins are massive for DNS.
We have to remember, that guy from Hamilton came 9,800 and a certain amount of extra kilometers to be here for this exact series. As now, we've got a bit of an engage onto Pyosik, down to 50% already, as Willa, the raid boss, is just going to walk it off.
Yeah, I think the problem with this Pantheon being so strong already is he kind of just frontline. And you know how I said about DNS, really good single target, kill potential, lockdown, and they want the momentum from the resets? The Pantheon is just kind of a blocker to that, because he's pretty hard to kill already, and you can pop the Aegis and just block a lot of that all in, and you're going to take a lot of damage if he's your first target. So, not recommended, but he's just kind of leading the charge in. And Ucal's going to force the Ezreal here with his own ult.
Yeah, that was... it's not often that you see the Victors going for the 1v1s and winning out very comfortably into the Ahri matchup. Oftentimes you do see Ahri on the offensive in this one, but right now, 0-0-6, Ucal with 2 items completed. Blackfire Torch now done as well as the Dash Cannon, and he's running real quick with his Swifties.
Black Cleaver completed for Willa. LazyFeel, 2 items. Ucal, 2 items. The thing is, when there's a gold deficit, It feels the worst when they have a completed item and you don't.
Yeah.
And even though we've seen deokdam pick up the Essence Weave and Navori, the 2 items of the Sivir isn't as significant as the 2 items of the Ezreal, but mid lane, you don't have the 2 items of Clozer. You don't have the 2 items of the jungle either. For Pyosik, this is a point where it's going to be tricky to fight this dragon. Cut up in 15 seconds. Will DNS let it go? It is just a Chemtech dragon. They don't have to fight this. They could buy time by letting it go. Because I think if they fight and lose, they're going to be so far behind.
Right now, they are at least trying to get some control of this mid lane. That turret still very healthy on the Kiwoom DRX side of things. As Peter, I don't know whether warding here is going to be something you can successfully do as Willa, like you were saying, just being that front line. Let's see whether Pyosik can find a kick angle as Clozer makes his way in, doesn't find the charm though, and will just explode. Willa is a monster by himself, finds another triple. And yes, Aux, I think probably just giving away the Drake would have been a good move.
Definitely would have been better than that. We can say for sure. They even TP DuDu down, and he's just kind of secret agent in the backline. Oh, he's going to get spotted.
Oh, no! All right, just ignore it. Just ignore it. Don't worry. DuDu is... he can't hurt you. You can't see him.
So this didn't start off so hot, and now it's a 5,000 gold deficit.
Oh,
looking for Ucal.
Yeah, Ucal actually spotted him there, I think, on that vision as he rotates up. LazyFeel just going to get ulted here as DuDu comes out of the brush. But there is Ucal still there. Peter might actually pay for his sins as Willa comes back.
Well,
yeah, he just bought a BF sword and an extra little sword.
DuDu keeps going for these really long planks. He did one last game, it didn't work, and this one unfortunately didn't work.
This was DuDu's discovery of what had happened elsewhere on the map after his great laning phase.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes you just press tab and you just say, oh.
What happened? Yes, that has been a pretty common occurrence for DuDu. We should probably be used to it by now. As Pyosik just wants his own red buff, and he's not going to be allowed to have it. Willa is so big, man.
Yeah, he is huge.
At least if they have a problem, they can call his scoreline.
So one thing that makes this a problem is that there's Mega Gnar available. So they engage, and Peter's just getting bursted down. They're hitting Willa, but again, Willa barely takes any damage, and then the Mega Gnar turns up, and Rich gets this humongous combo, and the fight is just over. Look at Willa's health, though.
Yeah.
They were focusing him. He was the first target, and he didn't even get under half HP.
That Aegis value was absolutely massive. It soaked basically everything.
If you're trying to pick a target and start and get a reset, not the Pantheon. And you know what? At this point, it's going to be a struggle on anyone with this much of a deficit.
He has 3,500 gold ahead of Pyosik.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
I mean, Pyosik hasn't finished his second item yet. And Willa's making a lot of headway towards his third.
And when he has Guardian Angel, if DNS ever engage on him again, I mean, it's already their excuses are running thin, but they would be gone if that was to happen. You can understand, though, he's probably got a decent bit of shutdown on him. As okay, now a little bit of an engage onto Andil. Peter managing to land a nice hook there as Pyosik finds the kick, but deokdam is also dead. Rich with a big old Naba looking to try and make something happen as LazyFeel off to the side looking for those mystic shots. And now Pyosik, oh dear, he's running in the wrong direction, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see whether he can make this one work. As there are no wolves!
Yeah, there's a Baron up and available, so him dying.
Yeah, going for the cute little play, and there is the pings onto the Baron. There are bounties up and available, and the one on the Baron is not one I think DNS are going to be able to take.
Villa has 11 kills now on this Pantheon.
He is a very binary boy.
He's doing so much damage. And honestly, I don't think this was the worst start to the fight for DNS, considering the deficit. They got one of the easier targets, which is that Karma. But unfortunately, deokdam just took so much damage. So we see here, Arcane Shift comes in from LazyFeel, and Peter goes for the engage onto the Karma, catches Andil even after the flash, which is pretty nice. But Rich just runs deokdam down and kills him. As a mini-Gnar, just being able to charge at a Sivir and auto-attack them to death is a pretty great position to be in. And then he hits Mega, so everyone has to scatter. And here, Pyosik, he's pretending to be a wolf. I mean, I think it makes sense given what his favorite champion is.
Yeah, true. However, yeah, it's just not really going to work out, unfortunately. So it was a cute little attempt, but now it's 8,000 gold the lead. And Kiwoom DRX, this is, you know, a monkey that they had to get off their back, right? They were the team, the only one so far this season that had lost to the DN Supers. And being able to take them down here would be a big deal. Especially to try and get them back on track as well. As LazyFeel going to take a depth charge over towards Ucal, but does make it all the way out to safety. As Pyosik clearing out some vision, looking for that flank. Wanting to get a big kick, but it's just not really going to happen. No flash available either. So it is just a whole lot more difficult to make that one work. And now with Baron, they're going to look to just strip the map of all of these inner turrets, increase that gold lead to about 10,000, and just do it by the book. And I just don't know what DNS is supposed to do. I mean, their composition was already going to be difficult to play from behind.
Yeah.
And they're very far behind.
It's just their win con is pretty straightforward, but it's just so hard to execute at this point. Very binary plan. I mean, the Sivir is at least going to scale up to a point where she's strong, but I mean, that's assuming they get time to scale, which I just don't think Kiwoom DRX is going to give them. I will say, Sivir with a lot of wave clear, it being a Chemtech soul, Kiwoom DRX only have 2 dragons in pocket.
There you go.
I feel like that at least buys them some time.
You're saying there's a chance.
But you know what really frustrates me? I feel like this happens so much in DN Supers games. I'm seeing a scenario, I'm like, you guys don't have to fight this dragon. It's not that big of a deal. They fight the dragon. They fall massively behind in gold. And then next dragon, they don't contest because they can't. And I'm like, you could have just
done that first.
The earlier dragon, and then you could have fought the later dragon when you're in a better position. But
yeah, it's just not a whole lot of good news as Rich crushes forward, looking to try and get on top of Clozer. He does make his way out, and Pyosik, I've seen this movie before, and I didn't really like it.
Okay, the wolf didn't work. Pretend to be the Gromp now. That worked for Carrier.
All right. Oh, no, wait. He's committed to the wolves.
Okay.
Oh, he's actually doing it again. This time, Safeguard's over. Finds the blue buff as well. That was very cute. As now, Pyosik's decided League of Legends is not for him. Hide and seek. That's his game. And he's making it out. Okay, they're going to look for LazyFeel as well. Charm is going to connect, but there's just not really the damage. Rich comes in. That wallop was gorgeous. And it's going to be both Peter and Clozer falling before the fight had even really had a chance to break out. LazyFeel tried to arcane shift away as DuDu is going to get on top of him. Rich takes him down in the end. And yes, LazyFeel will die, but all of DNS is what it's going to cost them.
And unfortunately, Pyosik did lose the game of hide and seek.
Oh no.
So they don't even have that as a takeaway from this. Ends up being an ace for just the AD carry of Kiwoom DRX. 11,500 gold lead.
It was more tag, wasn't it? It was more tag that he was playing. It was tag and then he safeguarded away.
Yeah.
Something like
that. He
that.
was kind of envisioned the whole time. So this could have been a good setup. I actually want to see, was it the nerf on Ambessa that made the difference here? It was. Because they nerfed the time it takes to cast the ultimate. If it was a little bit snappier, he would have caught him with it, and LazyFeel would have died much sooner. Now, do I think this fight would suddenly turn into a winning fight for DNS? No. But it would have got much better. And the nerf to Ambessa's ultimate cast time really hamstringing DuDu in that situation, unfortunately.
Yeah, big problem. And now another big problem is the hat that was just purchased by Ucal. He also got himself a Blighted Jewel. Oh my goodness, this Viktor is going to be doing so much damage. Already the Pantheon was an absolute monster. And there are so many codices on LazyFeel right now.
Yeah, LazyFeel going for some AP. We saw a lot of Ezreal's AP ratios buffed recently, like to a crazy degree. So people were talking about mixing in AP with his build. Cool to see it coming out from LazyFeel.
Goodness. Yeah, it's starting to look pretty good. The damage onto Pyosik here is... They do get the double knock-up. There's a public execution as well, as down goes that Viktor immediately. deokdam is somehow dead as well. I'm not even entirely sure how it happened. And Ucal, from the grave, kills 2 people with his Arcane Storm. LazyFeel now pushing close. My God, those Mystic shots do so much. And DuDu will be ushered to the fountain, pulled out by Rich, and taken down by the world's most fed Pantheon in the history of the universe. And Kiwoom DRX, they will pick up the 2-0 here today as they finally defeat the DN Supers in 2026. And they do so in a manner that was not close at any point whatsoever. An absolute crushing here today in our first series.
I think it just shows that despite these two teams being relatively close in the standings, Kiwoom DRX have leveled up and are looking to take that step